What's good, YouTube? It's your boy, Blue Blood Sports TV, back at y'all with another one. So, former unified welterweight world champion superstar boxer Keith one-time Thurman, 30 wins, 1 loss, no draw, 22 wins by way of knockout. Keith Thurman is 33 years of age, 5'8" with a 69-inch arm reach. With that said, Keith Thurman is now stating that, he wants to fight the young bulls. Okay, Keith Thurman, he had an extensive layoff after he took his first loss of his career, losing his WBA title. He held the WBC and the WBA after unifying the titles back in March of 2017 when he beat 2 division world champion Puerto Rican superstar boxer Danny Swift Garcia. Keith Thurman, he lost the WBC World Boxing Council title due to inactivity, okay? And that was back in 2017. He was inactive from 2017 to 2019. He came back in January of 2019. He took on Josito Lopez. Then he fought in July of 2019 against 8 division world champion, legendary, iconic Filipino superstar boxer Manny Pac-Man Pacquiao. Okay, and he lost his WBA title. So he lost the WBC title to inactivity. He lost the World Boxing Association title to Manny Pacquiao. And then from 2019, July 2019 to, February 5th of 2022, he was inactive again. And he came back and he fought against former WBA junior welterweight Mexican star boxer, world champion Mario Barrios, in which he beat Mario Barrios. Mario Barrios was coming off of a 3-knockdown knockout loss to undefeated 3-division world champion superstar boxer Gervonta Tank Davis. He made his debut at welterweight against Keith Thurman, and Keith Thurman, he beat Mario Barrios, and we haven't heard from Keith Thurman since. So he has these long, extensive layoffs. There was reports that Keith Thurman, and he stated that he wanted to come back in the summer of July, but they didn't have no fights for him, is what Keith Thurman stated. They couldn't get a fight for him, but he wants to fight before the year is up, okay? Keith Thurman's with the PBC, Premier Boxing Champion, founder and advisor Al Heyman. He fights on Showtime with Showtime President of Sports Steven Espinosa. So Keith Thurman, he stated that they couldn't get a fight for him. He wanted to fight this summer. Now keep in mind, Keith Thurman was very vocal about undefeated 3-division world champion, former junior welterweight undisputed world champion, currently the reigning WBO, World Boxing Organization welterweight world champion, who is widely considered by many to be the #1 best pound-for-pound fighter in the world, and Terence Crawford, who is 38 wins, no loss, no draw, 29 wins by way of knockout, 34 years of age, 5'8" with a 74-inch arm reach. Terence Crawford, he took on Keith Thurman's foe, friend, and rival, and 2-time welterweight world champion superstar boxer who's retired future Hall of Famer Showtime Shawn Porter, November 20th at the Mandalay Bay. The biggest fight in Terence Crawford's career, biggest name in Terence Crawford's career, and Shawn Porter, and he beat Shawn Porter, dropped him twice and stopped him in the 10th round. Keith Thurman had already previously beat Shawn Porter, and Keith Thurman, he had a lot to say regarding Terence Crawford's victory, and cited that he didn't see no boogeyman. He didn't see a invincible fighter. He saw somebody that had a lot of flaws and very beatable, and if he gives him 8 months, which from his fight day, from the fight that Terence Crawford and Shawn Porter fought, that he would fight Terence Crawford, which would be on par for what Keith Thurman was saying that he wanted to fight in July, okay, last month. And he fought February 5th. So from their fight, November 20th to July will be 8 months. Terence Crawford, he did an interview on the Porterway podcast, and he said, why does Keith Thurman need 8 months? He's not confident in his abilities. We can make this fight happen now. Terence Crawford parted ways with his longtime promoter and network in Bob Arum, Top Rank CEO, and ESPN, and Top Rank, right? So he's a network promotional free agent. Well, Keith Thurman, his fight with Mario Barrios became a WBC title eliminator, mandatory position for Errol Spence. And Keith Thurman started to tell the world that, he turned his sights from Terence Crawford to, trying to get an Errol Spence fight. Well, undefeated, rising welterweight superstar, title contender, Jaron Boots Ennis, 29 wins, no losses, no draw, 27 big wins by way of knockout, 25 years of age, 5'10" with a 74-inch arm reach. been calling out Keith Thurman, been linked to Keith Thurman. Stephen Espinosa even stated that he would love to make a fight with Jaron Boots Ennis and Keith Thurman, right? Jaron Ennis signed a deal with Showtime. He's not with the PBC, but he has a exclusive deal with Showtime. And Stephen Espinosa said that he would love to make the fight happen. Well, it was being reported that Keith Thurman was asking for $10 million to make the fight, okay? And Keith Thurman initially, he stated the same thing he used to do with Errol Spence. Now, Keith Thurman, he started to tell the world he didn't know who Jaron Boots Ennis is. He never saw Jaron Ennis fight. He had to do his homework. Then he did an interview in which Keith Thurman stated that, he finally did his homework on Jaron Boots Ennis, and that, he reminded him a lot of himself, Terence, Crawford, Pernell Whitaker, and Floyd Mayweather combined, and that, he was a phenom, he was a very good boxer, and that, he would welcome the opportunity, maybe in the future, against Jaron Ennis, but it's being reported that Keith Thurman is asking for $10 million to fight Jaron Boots Ennis. Now Keith Thurman does another interview because another young fighter called him out, an undefeated British superstar, welterweight title contender, Conor Benn, son of the legend Nigel Benn. Okay, Conor Benn is now calling out Keith Thurman, and Keith Thurman, he did the same thing. Okay, same exact pattern. He don't know who Conor Benn is. He's not aware who Conor Benn is. He had to Google Conor Benn, and once he Googled him, he seen his face. And then now he said he Googled him, he knew his face, right? Keith Thurman's a character. He Googled him, he saw his face, and he's familiar with him. But at the same token, while he's being interviewed by Marcos Villegas on Fight Hub, shout out to Fight Hub with this interview, Keith Thurman goes, I think that's the European kid, right? He's over from the British kid, right? That's who we're talking about. If you did your homework and you know what he looked like, then you know exactly who he is, right? You're very much so aware of who Conor Benn is, right? Conor Benn is making his way and carving out his own niche. He's the son of a legend, Nigel Benn, and he's carving out his own niche in the sport of boxing, and he's making a name for himself. And these young fighters, they see Keith Thurman as a lick, because he only had one loss to a legend in Manny Pacquiao. Okay, he is, still young, only 33 years of age. He was the unified champion at one point in time. He was the best welterweight in the world. Okay, and so, these young fighters see a legacy fight, a way to, to build their name, and Keith Thurman. So he then says that he's not a gatekeeper, right, and that he's going to school Jaron Boots Ennis and Conor Benn, right. And he says, send the contract. I'm not interested in doing all the talking and back and forth. That's okay. That's all well said and good. But I'm not interested in that. Send the contract and let's make it happen. This is what Keith Thurman is saying. Well, clearly, there's been talks of Jaron Ennis fighting Keith Thurman because Keith Thurman reportedly asked for $10 million. So if Stephen Espinosa, president of Showtime, in which he, handles both Jaron Ennis and Keith Thurman, then Keith Thurman is well aware that this is a possibility. So him saying send the contract, well, you got to be realistic in your approach, right? So then he goes that he wants the big fights. He's just interested in the big fights. That's the fights that entices him. It's the big fights and then the money. Oh, now we get to the point. It's the money. So he goes, well, the money got to be right. I'm looking for big fights and money. Well, there it is. That's confirmation that you're asking for, the big number from Jaron Boots Ennis. And it's not. So Keith Thurman has now, right, here's the thing. We know Brian Bomac McIntyre, trainer and manager of Terence Crawford, he stated that Keith Thurman was asking for $10 million. This number is being attached to Keith Thurman for a reason. It's not a coincidence that Terence Crawford said Keith Thurman is looking for $10 million. Now, Jaron Boots Ennis' team is saying he's looking for $10 million. And he's talking about these big numbers to fight Conor Benn and Jaron Boots Ennis. And now he's standing behind, I'll school these dudes, right? he gonna school Jaron, Ennis, and Conor Benn, saying, I already schooled the young fighter. What young fighter did you school? Mario Barrios was coming off of a knockout loss to a guy who jumped up 10 pounds. Gervonta Tank Davis fight before he fought Mario Barrios fought Leo Santa Cruz at 130. At 130 pounds, and he jumped up from 130 pounds to 140 pounds and fought Mario Barrios, dropped him 3 times and knocked him out. Mario Barrios then immediately, his next fight, moved up 7 pounds north to fight Keith Thurman at welterweight, and he hurt Keith Thurman more than Keith Thurman hurt him, and he never hit the canvas. So what young fighter, undefeated fighter, did you school? I'm telling y'all, Keith Thurman is a character within the sport of boxing. I love Keith Thurman. He's great for the sport of boxing, and he could box. Dude got skills. You can't take that away from Keith Thurman, but he's for sure a character, right? And so he says he schooled a young fighter already. He'll school another one. What young fighter did you school? Mario Barrios wasn't a young fighter that was undefeated. He ain't Conor Benn or Jaron Ennis. They both would stop Mario Barrios, I believe, in 5 rounds. In 5 rounds. So Keith Thurman is saying send the contract. He's willing to make the fight happen. Let's see how this unfolds and plays out.